War is coming to Scandinavia. Get ready, folks. Sweden is preparing for war against Russia. Sweden had been, of course, a neutral country. Remember when Sweden was a neutral country for hundreds of years? And nearly 2 centuries, Sweden has been a neutral country. And now you can throw that out the window, thanks to the expansion of NATO, of course, which will lead to a direct conflict with Russia. Putin has warned against it, saying they will not allow it. But NATO continues to want to push the boundaries and test it. I mean, how many of you guys watching right now think that Putin is bluffing? Like, Putin is bluffing with this idea? We will not allow NATO to move up to our back door. We're not going to allow it to happen. It's against our national security. It violates our national security. That's what he said. That's what most of the members of the Russian Federation have said. You think he's bluffing?
I mean, look what we did. What we did with Cuba. Like, we wouldn't allow that. We wouldn't allow any other country anywhere near, like Mexico or Cuba or Canada.
No, we just let thousands of them just come across our borders now. But but it's like the military. Yeah, we can't have missiles in Cuba because it violates the Monroe Doctrine, our own document, by the way. So the Swedes have been told to prepare for war. I'm just going to read verbatim here, quoting this piece now. In a speech on Sunday, Sweden's foreign minister Tobias Billström said his country's expected membership in NATO is the biggest change in Swedish security policy in more than 200 years. Billström warned that Russia will constitute a serious threat to the security of Sweden. So maybe you don't join NATO then.
What do they think they're going to get out of that? It's just a bill. It's a big bill. It's like a homeowners association that never goes away.
Right. So you got to funnel money and weapons into whatever boondoggle NATO wants you to do around the world. You know, we need you now. We need you to throw a few $1 billion into the coffers. It's like, do you know what it is? It's like a pyramid scheme because they just happen to keep add members to their pyramid scheme.
Yeah, totally.
Right. It's like one of those. I'm trying to think of one of those pyramid schemes. Like
Herbalife.
Yeah, like Herbalife or
Mary Kay.
Is Mary? Well, Mary Kay's not a pyramid scheme.
It is.
Is it?
Yeah.
I mean, you have to like keep adding new people.
Yes.
But then they monthly buy lipstick from you.
Yes, but you have to get more reps.
It's in the real definition of pyramid scheme, it's not one, because a pyramid scheme is like the person on top makes all the money. It's completely different. It's not the same.
How do you know about Mary Kay?
Because that's where he gets his face cream.
Well, because I did MLM for many years.
Okay.
So
So no, I didn't think that one fell to the level of it because you have normal. Anyway, my point is that NATO is a pyramid. Is it not like a pyramid scheme? It feels like it at this.
Well,
and
think about this. Why would you go from being a completely neutral country that nobody wants to mess with? You're just fine. Everything's going great. Is it because you want American money and all of a sudden you're going to put yourself in danger and then have to like put your soldiers in harm's way if the United States is like, hey, we're going to go attack Russia now for no reason. Let's go.
Yeah,
I can't follow that rationale. I don't know. You're right. Good point.
It's the security measure. Like they feel like they need the security. Those security. Russia is going to now invade Sweden. No, Russia would attack Sweden if you become a member of NATO. I mean, I'm not saying
it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's like the provocation is Sweden joining NATO. So how can you need NATO to protect you from Russia when the provocation is joining NATO? It's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
It makes no sense. So Billström warned that Russia will constitute a serious threat to the security of Sweden and Europe, he said, and for the foreseeable future. He added that Stockholm must be realistic and assume and be prepared for a drawn-out confrontation. Echoing the sentiment, Defense Minister Pal Johnson said war can also come to us, claiming that Ukraine is acting as Europe's shield at the moment in conflict with Russia. See, that's how they see Ukraine. And that's what members of U.S. Congress, by the way, feel about Ukraine as well, like as a shield. Like, we'll use all of the Ukrainians to die to shield the rest of Europe from Russia. The madness.
And a shield they won't even allow into NATO.
Right. Yeah, isn't that funny?
Right.
Yeah. It's like the toxic. Yeah, go ahead.
And if you don't see Ukraine as a template, as a warning template, are you not paying attention? Who looks at what's happening to Ukraine and thinks, that looks fun. Let's do that too.
Yeah, let's follow in their footsteps. And we're going to get to some horrible stuff in Ukraine in just a moment here. I'm going to show you the latest developments there. We just got a nice super chat from Sweden. Regards from stupid Sweden. Mike, I don't know how you say your name. Your screen name is like RR Sajenka or something. But regards from stupid Sweden. Putin doesn't care for us. We are like a drop in the sea for him. Well, we'll see. I mean, if maybe right now, become a member of NATO and start moving weapons onto the back door of Russia and then see what happens. Russia's telling us what's going to happen. So do you call their bluff? So again, Moscow has stated that NATO's continuing expansion towards Russia's western borders, as well as the refusal to rule out Ukrainian membership in the future, are among the key causes of the ongoing conflict. Russia sees NATO as a threat to national security. And look, this has been foretold. Watch my deep interview with Michael Horn, where we went over the long history and the prophecies. He wrote about this in 2017 on his website. 2017, the coming war in Scandinavia, and lays out exactly what's going to happen. You should read it. You should watch my interview with Michael Horn. It's pretty darn eye-opening. And all of this is now coming to pass. And we can sort of sit back and say, we didn't know this was coming. We didn't see it coming. We did see it coming. The NATO expansion was foretold. And this provocation with Russia is foretold. Nikki Haley, of course, the warmonger Nikki Haley, is calling for direct confrontation. She absolutely is a member of the deep state, the military-industrial complex. They love her. You're certainly seeing all of these news articles now on, all across NPR and all, the rise of Nikki Haley. How is she rising? She's only rising because the deep state and the military-industrial complex wants her to become president because she is their mouthpiece for war. Listen to her last night on how Poland is next. Poland and the Baltics. Putin is going to attack Poland and the Baltics.
Russia said once they take Ukraine, Poland and the Baltics are next. Those are NATO countries. That puts America at war. This is about preventing war. It's always been about preventing war. My husband is a combat veteran. He's deployed now. The last thing I want him or any of his military brothers and sisters to do is to go to war. But to avoid going to war, you have to prevent it. And just to support Ukraine, it only costs 3.5% of our defense budget. That's it. The Europeans have paid more, and they should. It's in their neighborhood. But this is about preventing war. And we have to make sure that we do everything we can to keep Americans safe and to keep our national security safe.
Yeah.
She's a liar. She's lying. That's a lie.
Wait a minute. Are you kidding me? Really?
When did Russia say that they wanted Poland next? When did Russia even say that it wanted all of Ukraine? Russia didn't. Russia was asked to come in from the special military operation only into the regions that Ukraine had been bombing. They were asked by the mayors of those regions to please come in and help us because Ukraine won't stop attacking us as civilians. And they did. Russia never expressed interest for holding on to Ukraine.
How dare you speak badly about
even Google Bard, which
nickel.
likes to argue with me all the time, acknowledges that Russia has never expressly said, which is totally biased. Philip, were you going to say something? I'm sorry. I was screaming about all those lies.
That was me. The United States is the only country that prevents war with war.
Right.
Yeah, that's our motto. We prevent war by bringing war to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
But
she's an absolute liar.
That's a lie.
And the idea, of course, she says that her husband is deployed. And I absolutely wouldn't want us to go to war because, my husband, I don't want him to die. So the way that we do this, though, that we prevent war by bringing more weapons to the table. It has never worked for the United States. Ever. What the hell is she talking about? Go ahead, Philip.
Oh, sorry. I think that we really need to return to those days where the people that pushed for war had to go fight in it.
Yeah.
And I wonder how much these people would be screaming for war if, like, okay, you want to continue this war in Ukraine, you're on the front lines, go do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Or if the president you voted for brings you to war, you would vote very differently, don't you think?
Yeah. Hans Starr says, Redacted is wrong. Russia wanted a land bridge to Crimea.
Russia, okay, study the Crimean annexation, because again, Russia didn't go in specifically. They were asked to protect from them.
And also read the Minsk agreements, read the Minsk Accords, and understand who was upholding their side of the Minsk Accords, by the way, and who totally balked and used it as a scam. You know, Angela Merkel admitted later they had no intention of supporting the Minsk agreements.
I just want to know who told you that Russia wanted a land bridge to Crimea, and who told you the intentions. I'm just curious. Where did you find that? It must have been a headline.
Yeah,
not a real vote.
Can you please send us the NPR article where you read that?
David,
Ukraine blew up their own bridge, and blamed Russia. Remember that?
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, but hey, I'll call you out, and great. Thank you for your opinion on that, but that's not accurate. I mean, we'll have a discussion about it, but it's not accurate. So Sweden is preparing for war. Nikki Haley is saying that, Putin wants to invade Poland, wants to invade the Baltics, and that's his intention. He wants to then go all the way into the United States and take over Canada and the U.S., and that's really what's happening. Of course, nothing could be further from the truth if you're paying attention. But meanwhile, another country which is faltering, and we now got confirmation, Germany, a country that, as by all accounts, was the largest economy in Europe, is now really, really struggling. Today, Bloomberg acknowledging that Germany has now entered a recession. Yes. Imagine that. Production declined from October, led by capital goods, intermediate goods. Statistics Office said on Tuesday, this is the 6th consecutive drop. Manufacturing continues to decline. See, that's what happens when your allies blow up your Nord Stream pipeline and your energy resources that you're relying on from Russia. You turn off your nuclear power plants, and then you have to fire up coal-powered plants again, and you're trying to rely on just solar and wind, and you're also shutting down your manufacturing base. So your electronics manufacturing, your vehicle manufacturing, it's all declining in Germany. But that's not stopping Olaf Scholz today from, even though when you get these bad economic numbers, and this is the same thing with Biden, it's absolutely mental. They are mental patients. Olaf Scholz telling the EU, you guys need to really get serious about Ukraine. He's totally out of touch. The German Chancellor Olaf Scholz has appealed to other EU member states to step up their military assistance to Ukraine, noting that his own country ranks second only to the United States in terms of weapons shipments to Kiev.
Maybe you should go outside and look at the protests and see how your people feel about that.
They don't want war.
They're asking for your attention.
The farmers are standing out in the freezing cold in Berlin right now, and they're telling you they do not want war or money going to war. They want money to help their own country in Germany. You wouldn't have to slash subsidies for farmers because you're sending money to Ukraine. I mean, they're totally out of touch. Literally on the same day you get this report about a recession, Olaf Scholz is telling we need to double down on sending more money and weapons to Ukraine. It's absolute madness. So according to reports out today, Ukraine is now actively going and stepping up their conscription efforts. They're stopping public transport, stopping buses, going on to public buses now, and trying to find people who are on these buses. Are you on public transport trying to take the bus? We're just stopping you. We're going to do checks right now. Walk in. There we go. We're going to check and see if there's any young men on this bus. Anybody wearing an old man mask on here? And we're going to take you, and we're going to take you to the front lines and throw you right into the meat grinder.
This is something that the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times are both admitting are happening now. This is something that people were called crazy and conspiracy theorists and Putin apologists for talking about for months and months. Now the mainstream media is finally admitting it. Way to catch up. In the meantime, people have been dragged into wars they are not prepared for. They are not trained for.
No, and they don't have the munitions. They don't have the weapons for it. And they're receiving no training at all. These people do not want to be a part of this. And meanwhile, you're getting Ukrainian oligarchs, we learned today, are buying multi-million-dollar mansions in other countries, multi-million-dollar mansions in Germany, as reported today. So these same guys that are demanding these young men and they're dragging people off of buses to go fight, why are they buying mansions in other countries? Why don't they go fight? Now, according to reports today, Ukraine has ordered over 50,000 uniforms for women to fight. And they're putting out nice propaganda pieces so you can see what it looks like to be a woman fighting in Ukraine. You can see the nice garb. This is what you'll get, ladies, in Ukraine. You know, you don't go to nightclubs anymore. All the men have died. So,
Flattering.
So it's all, you know, there's no men left in Ukraine. So if you maybe want to meet a woman now, that's your only choice. And the best way to do that is to meet a woman on the front lines. So we're going to share these different outfits. And this report today.
They must be out of shoestrings and boots. She's wearing tennis shoes with no strings in it.
Oh, I missed that. See, that's what women always notice the shoes.
David's not a woman.
Oh, that's right. But he always notices women's fashion.
He does. He likes
He's very aware of women's fashion.
Yeah, he always compliments me when I wear a beret. And I'm like, how do you know the word beret?
But I never noticed that. I never noticed the shoes. So David was very keen on seeing those shoes there in the snow. Yeah. It is true. And so this report out today, a Ukrainian woman published this on social media saying she's pregnant and she received a conscription letter from the government of Ukraine to go and fight. So she has to report for duty now. Listen.
Друзі, це просто якийсь жах. Боже, який жах. Хоронять бідних людей. Ну, я не можу, коли це все закінчиться.
Yeah.
Do you think they just don't know that she's pregnant?
I mean, you hope. I mean, you hope to give them the office the benefit of the doubt, right? That she could send a letter and say, "I'm pregnant. I'm sorry." Then they'll probably make her come in and prove it.
Like jury duty.
Yeah, but here's more women showing off their new Ukrainian women's fashions, getting ready for war. So this is what they'll be sending out. This is part of the propaganda that's being shared on social media. Women go fight in Ukraine because the men are all gone. And this is what it looks like now in Ukraine. So, yeah, Putin, by the way, today showed up in the Arctic right on the United States border for the very first time. And it was pretty interesting to watch. And this is his first trip there. It's incredibly difficult to get there, but literally right on the United States border. And of course, there's a lot of connections to what Russia is doing right now in the Arctic, and the U.S. trying to ramp up efforts right now to try to build out new icebreaker ships, because we are losing the race for the Arctic. And that passageway, of course, if the Red Sea is disrupted, the Arctic passageway right now is the new trade route.
Yes.
And China and Russia are doubling down on their efforts to move in that direction. So President Putin showing up in the Arctic to see what's going to happen there. And right on the Alaska border was President Putin today. So I'm sure there was like Americans sitting at those bases going like, what's going on here? Why is the office of the president of Russia flying right to the American border in Alaska? Let us know your thoughts on all of this. We'll continue to watch what happens with Nikki Haley and Poland, and if Poland's about to be invaded. But I'm very curious on the Scandinavian piece of this. And a lot of people in the chat were saying, yes, if you read the Billy Meyer stuff, if you go down and you study this, this has been foretold. This has been written about and documented. And now it's starting to come to... So don't be shocked when there is a war in Scandinavia, and the pushing of NATO and NATO expansion right up to Russia's back door is the catalyst for all of this. Thank you so much for watching this segment here at Redacted. We are live every day at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, trying to share the stories that the mainstream media will not cover. You should also come over and join our community of Redacted Rebels over at redacted.inc. That's our private locals community where we can share exclusive content that we simply cannot share here on YouTube. Come over and join the rebellion together right now by going to redacted.inc. We'll see you next time.